mean, that's a great defense, and I'm glad some of those picks got dropped and some flags were thrown.
You're welcome.
Want to watch football without the restrictions of blackouts or cable? Check out expressvpn.com to help you get access to all the live games. Sign up today using the link in the description to get 3 free months.
Yo, what up, Bolt fam? It's the director. Yeah, it's going to be one of those videos, unfortunately, dude. It was a rough night last night, man. And I have my views on what went down in this Thursday night loss to the Kansas City Chiefs. I got my views. I got my perspective. And honestly, I don't think there's going to be a lot of people, at least I think there's going to be some people that do not agree with my perspective on this game. And that's okay, because in the end, I don't know if I'm as upset at the team, if I'm upset at the offense, the defense, the play calling, the coaching, any of that. I just think I'm more, feeling bad about the Chargers being maybe a victim of circumstance in a lot of situations. Sure, there's things that I think the Chargers can be better at and improve on, and mistakes that definitely cost them in this game. But I also think when you throw in the mere fact that the Chargers did get robbed a couple of times in this one, it just makes this whole situation and this loss feel gross, right? It's one thing to lose, it's another thing to lose in that fashion. So maybe some people don't agree with my perspective on this one, but we're going to give my thoughts on what happened in this Thursday night game. Now, there is some good news, at least on the channel front, right? I got a big announcement coming up here in the next couple of days, man. Yes, we did pick up another sponsor, and it's one that I'm absolutely so ecstatic to share with you guys, one that I'm super excited to participate with. It's going to be a good time, so keep your eyes peeled for that. Secondly, as a reminder, we do have a giveaway going on right now. Hopefully this will help cheer some of you up. We're going to be giving away this signed Antonio Gates jersey to one of my lucky subscribers. All you got to do to enter for this is hit up the link in the description, follow the instructions there. Very, very simple, and make sure you are subscribed. Only subs can win. But as always, we like to do giveaways in twos. This jersey's also up for grabs for one of my crew members as a thank you from me to you guys for supporting the channel. All you got to do to be entered for this is be a member of my crew. That is it. We're going to be drawing a winner here in the next couple of weeks. Now, before we do kick off, guys, question in the comments like we always do, and this one might be a bit of a sting, but we're going to ask it anyway. Do the Chargers win this game if they are granted even one out of those 3 called back interceptions? Let me know. Before we kick off, guys, hit us up with a like and a sub if you do enjoy this Chargers content. Small amount of time you guys take to hit the like, sub, and bell notification helps me out a lot. Let's get into it, man. Let's break it down. Lights, camera, action. The Chargers at Chiefs post-game report here for week 2. If you're a Chargers fan, you're likely going to see or understand what we're about to see in this video. We got to break down a little bit of a disaster, but before we get into any of that, man, I have to start this video off and open this video up with acknowledging Justin Herbert, man, giving him some props. Justin Herbert is a dog, man. How insane was that effort that we saw in the fourth quarter? I hate saying this so often. I can't believe how many times I have said it, but Justin Herbert trying last-second heroics to bring the Chargers, out of the grips of defeat. Absolutely stellar. And of course, the biggest narrative that a lot of people are going to take out of this game, especially from, outside the Chargers community, is the injury to Justin Herbert. The dude took a big hit, and it seemed that his ribs were bothering him for a good portion of that fourth quarter. And man, was it tough to watch as a Chargers fan with everything collapsing, from the officiating to the other injuries to the score. To have that happen in the fourth quarter was devastating. It really was. It was a gut punch, man. And it really, honestly, at some point I felt very nauseous to my stomach. I was like, how is this happening? It's a nightmare out here. But you know what Justin Herbert does in response? He goes out there and puts up some insane plays, makes some insane plays, also while also displaying how much pain he was in. There was a certain moment where he could have easily ran 2-3 yards for a first down, wide open space in front of him as far as open field, and he just can't do it, man. He's in so much pain. You see the grimace in his face as he tosses it away. The dude was fighting through some serious grief, man, and it really, I don't know. So inspiring and so heroic to see Justin Herbert out there doing his thing despite everything collapsing around him, including his own health. Bravo to Justin Herbert. The dude's a dog. We're going to get more into his injury here in just a moment. But before we do, let's go into some of the stats that we saw on Thursday night versus the Chiefs. At Chiefs, by the way, at their home turf. Let's start things off with Justin Herbert, the man of the hour. 33 attempts. Or I should say 33 completions out of 48 attempts for 334 yards, 3 touchdowns. Absolutely insane night. Of course, there is the interception that we're going to talk about here in just a little bit, just because I'm upset at, let's say, the officiating this game. That segment's coming, dudes. Doesn't mean I think the Chargers played a perfect game. This was definitely one of the most costly mistakes that we saw in this game. A lot of it does come down to unfortunate circumstances, but that is one that we do need to point out. Otherwise, an absolutely insane, terrific day for Justin Herbert. Over 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. That's what you want to see. On the other side, you got Patrick Mahomes with 235 and 2 touchdowns. This also does speak to the talent of the Chargers and this defense in particular. This defense is the real deal, man. And again, we're going to get into a lot of that here individually in just a second. On the ground, Austin Ekeler, 14 for 39. We got to figure out something for our guy Eck, man. Especially for you fantasy owners out there. I know a lot of people drafted him with high hopes. Probably a top 5 pick for a lot of people. And he's kind of been struggling to get involved in the offense. I think that's something, again, we're going to cover here in just a minute. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 74 yards and 8 carries. He had a long for 52, though, so maybe those numbers are a little bit skewed. Receiving-wise, though, Mike Williams, as expected, had a huge day, 113 yards and a touchdown. Travis Kelce, their leading receiver, only 5 receptions with 51 yards as well. Again, that kind of speaks to the Chargers defense. Chargers offense was looking pretty good despite what we saw on Thursday as well. And then defensively, the Chargers, you'll see some sacks, you'll see some tackles for loss. The big stat that we would hope to see a little bit more improvement on is the interceptions, of which the Chargers logged 0, even given the circumstance of 3 potential picks on the field at the time. Jalen Watson, the Chiefs, I think rookie defensive back, ended up picking it off, returning for 99 and a touchdown. Big game and big play for him. The last thing I do want to point out here is the punts, actually, funny enough. J.K. Scott down here, 6 punts that night, 243 yards. Definitely a big night for him. I would say certainly a very good night for a punter, especially with how many opportunities that he got. Long of 53. He had a pretty good day, all things considered. I think there was one punt that was something like 30 yards, but he was right up against it in the end zone. So I don't know if I can blame him so much for that. Either way, those are your stat checks for the week. Now let's get into some of the bad news, what we saw on Thursday, even outside the loss, and this segment's going to be called The Fallen Bolts. The Fallen Bolts. We saw a slew of injuries stack up on Thursday night, probably a big part of why the Chargers struggled in the second half, the first of which being Corey Linsley. You'll see there smack and center in the screen at number 63. He went down, I think, the bottom of the first half, opening of the second half, and Corey Linsley's a very, very important part of this offense, man. When it comes to having, let's say, your quarterback of the O-line, right? The dude's out there calling blocking assignments, really keeping things, glued together and in sync. And when the moment that he went out, we knew there was going to be some struggle in Justin Herbert in finding protection outside of even Linsley's elite talent. And that's exactly what happened. The offensive line started to crumble a little bit. After that, we did see an injury to Trey Pipkins. I think both these guys may have been ankle injuries. I cannot confirm at this time, but definitely very concerning. Trey Pipkins, again, not the best right tackle in the league, but he's been doing pretty dang good for the Chargers, at least playing above average, and that's all you can ask for a guy who at the top of his career at the Chargers is one of those guys that we wanted to boot off the team who was playing so bad. So losing Trey Pipkins, losing Linsley, definitely very costly to this team, and of course, it could be part of the reason why and what led up to the Herbert injury. Of course, he took a shot to the ribs. He was out for a play. He came back, played very valiantly, heroically, but in the end, it wasn't enough to keep the Chargers out of the loss column for this game. So hopefully, with the Justin Herbert injury, a lot of people are going to be asking for updates. At the time of recording this video, I got no update for you other than Brandon Staley saying that he looks okay. It doesn't seem like a long-term thing. It doesn't seem like anything too serious right now. But as of right now, all I can tell you guys is that we're going to have to sit and wait. We're going to have to find out what's going on with Justin Herbert. Now, again, I'm not a doctor. I'm the director. I can't, I don't have the medical background to really tell you what's going on with Justin. But as far as I know, as like a casual fan in terms of, or a casual understanding of injuries and stuff like that, as a fan of football, when it comes to rib injuries, I don't know if they're as serious in terms of keeping you off the field as other injuries could be. I feel like I've seen a lot of players play through rib injuries. I feel like rib injuries as a whole aren't as bad as a lot of other things that we could see. So I can say that I remain optimistic, but I can't tell you for certain what's going on with Justin Herbert, if he's going to be out, and if so, how long. Those are going to be the details that we're waiting to hear from Daniel Popper. Make sure you guys are following him on Twitter. All these statuses up in the air as far as the offensive lineman and even Justin. So we'll wait and see. We'll give you guys an update here in the next couple of days. So, first part of the game that I wanted to talk about in terms of things that affected the Bolts and the Chiefs in this loss to Kansas City. The first topic I wanted to hit was momentum is king. That's what it's going to be called. And the refs did strip it away for the Chargers several times this game. There are several plays that were blown, right? Whatever, it happens. We see this pretty constantly as Chargers fans. There's going to be plays that are blown both for you and against you. And of course, there's the ones that are against you that are going to get you the most irked. But the biggest and most egregious call that was blown on Thursday was likely the most costly, and it proved the most fatal in terms of the Chargers coming in to win this one, right? If you guys recall, Patrick Mahomes lobs a pass under pressure. He had Joey Bosa-Kilmack in his face, so he tosses it into no man's land, right? It's picked by Nasir Adderley. That is huge. The Chargers at this point are up 10-0. An interception here, giving the ball back to Justin Herbert and hopefully going up 3 possessions. That's very big. But you know what happens? Flag. And you know what it's called for? Illegal contact. That's a bummer. But what really made me upset, and if you guys are following me on Twitter, you'll see how furious I was at this. I was livid. What my eyes witnessed, I could not believe. The Chargers were called for illegal contact, but on the replay, we see Bryce Callahan, who on that play had good leverage. He gets grabbed by MVS, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and tossed to the ground like a WWE match. And yet the Chargers are the ones called for illegal contact on defense. Now, there's certain situations where you can take a look at a penalty and say, I could go either way. Or maybe there was, fault on both sides, in which case it becomes, what is called no contest. You replay it downs. It was neither one of those things. It was the literal most worst case scenario for the Chargers, in which MVS gets free. The Chargers get an interception. MVS is the one that should be the one called for the penalty, and yet all it is another opportunity for Patrick Mahomes to continue his drive and score a touchdown, which of course is what ended up happening. The biggest reason why I'm going to be highlighting this particular play, which I should have gotten a photo of Bryce Callahan in this photo, is that I do believe that if the Chargers, if that interception stuck, if that call hadn't been called, the egregious blown call for illegal contact on Bryce Callahan, when in fact MVS was the one at fault here, if that call had been called correctly, the Chargers not only stop the Kansas City Chiefs from scoring, but they also get the ball back and have an opportunity to go up 3 possessions. That's huge. Whichever way you slice it, this is a hugely blown call by the Kansas City officiating, and one that likely cost us the game. Because again, the Chargers, at this point, they got all the momentum going for them. I feel like momentum is a hugely underrated aspect to the game that can get swung either way by some mistakes made by the officiating. It's one of the biggest things you try to maintain throughout the entire game. A lot of people call it controlling a football game. I call it momentum. And that momentum was stripped away by the refs with that missed call. This penalty would easily lead to a Chiefs touchdown, which cut the lead down to 3. The Chargers would lose this game by 3. And I believe this is where the game swung. This is where the momentum shifted. This is where the control was taken away. If this pick stands, the Chargers build momentum. They get the ball back at the 25 by Nasir Adderley, and more importantly, they keep control of the game. And this would continue on throughout the entire game. That was the biggest, most egregious, penalty I saw of the night. One of the worst I've seen since the Cowboys game last year. But it would continue on going forward. There was an Asante Samuel Jr. interception that would be negated by a questionable control judgment, which basically means the officiating didn't believe he had control of the ball before it hit the ground. I've watched that clip over and over and over again, and I will tell you, he had control up against his chest with the hand underneath it. He had control of that ball, yet it was called back. That sucked. It wasn't as questionable as the Bryce Callahan flag, but it still sucked to see. And you know what? When it comes to officiating, when it comes to flags and things out of our control, for the most part, I'm going to call it as I see it, okay? Sometimes the chat's going to disagree with me. There are going to be plays where the Chargers could have gotten the flag. We'll always pump the brakes on that and say, yeah, I could go either way. I'm not as mad at that play. Or, yes, the Chiefs deserve to get a flag here. The Chargers deserve to get a flag here. We're always going to call it the way it is. But the ones like this, right? The egregious penalties, this is where I'm going to speak up and say something. This is horrible. It likely cost us the game a couple of times. And you never like to see that, especially on a Thursday night primetime game versus the Chiefs. Horrible. Horrible sinking feeling. And the fact of the matter is, the reason why, again, it's easy to get up and say something, even with a platform or whatever on social media. It's easy for me to get up and say something because, one, I am pissed. Two, I agree. Egregious call. It's one that you cannot defend. And you know what? The fact of the matter is the only people defending these calls are Chiefs fans. Everyone. And I mean everyone else, Chargers fan or not. I'm seeing Eagles fans, Pats fans, Vikings fans, Niners fans. It doesn't matter where you're from or what team you support. Everyone else is scrutinizing the officiating of this game. Everybody except for Chiefs fans. And you know what? It's because they were egregious calls. They were BS calls and likely shifted and swung the momentum in the favor of the Chiefs, of which the Chargers, now battling injury, were just not able to overcome. So yes, I know that's going to be a big segment, one that a lot of people are coming to this video to see. That is my perspective on it. I am very upset about it. I do think the officiating, if it was called properly, I think the Chargers do get this win. But it is what it is. You got to forget it and move on. Now, in terms of this game and mistakes, not just by the officiating, by the teams themselves, I will say that the Chargers did make their share of mistakes this game. Okay, the biggest one obviously being that pick six. That was the final nail in the coffin, especially after the blown calls and the injury stacking up. That pick six was definitely where this game went from worse to even devastating, right? At that point, it went from worse to devastating. It was bad. It was very bad. And that was a mistake on the Chargers. But I will say the Chiefs made more mistakes this game than the Chargers, right? The Chargers need to do better. Ultimately, there's a lot of things that we could have done to get better control of this game, but the Chiefs made more mistakes than the Chargers by a lot. And they got away with it. They got away with a lot of costly mistakes this game. And again, it is what it is. The Chargers, they got things that they need to clean up. But what I saw out there on the football field was a better team. This is something I posted this morning on Twitter. Optimistically, the Chargers looked like the better team for most, maybe 3/4 of that game. For most of that game, the Chargers were pretty much stomping on the Chiefs. They looked far and away like the better team. And again, the circumstances did not lead to a Chargers victory, but that's something to be optimistic about. We got 15 more weeks, man. We got 15 more weeks to show this league what we really are and what the Chargers are made of. And I think this game, as significant as it was, is going to be put in the rearview mirror very, very quickly. But that's not what this video is really about. Okay, it's not about the officiating. It's not about the mistakes and all that kind of stuff. For me, it's about the team. I'm very proud of this team despite the loss. I really am. And this is where some people may not agree with my perspective on this game. I really liked a lot of what I saw. I think the defense was unreal. I think the offense, for what they did, produced very good numbers. Everything outside of the pick six, that was a huge mistake on the Chargers. They 100% need to own the blame for that. This offense was looking pretty good. Sure, there were moments where I was like, I would have done this, I would have done that. But either way, man, we've seen Mike Williams going off. Xander Horvath logged another touchdown. We had a really nice effort by Josh Palmer. Justin Herbert was doing his thing. I loved, the hitting the underneath passes, letting your playmakers, drive you down the field. I felt very good about the offense. As a matter of fact, I'm not one of those people that's super, asking for the head of Joe Lombardi either. And that's probably the biggest thing people are going to disagree with me with. They're like, director, you defending Joe Lombardi? No, I'm not. I think Joe Lombardi could have called a better game. But do I think Joe Lombardi is one of the biggest reasons we lost this game? No, it's the officiating, 100% in my opinion, right? Could Joe Lombardi have called a better game? Absolutely. There are big, big points in this game where maybe instead of calling a run, you call a pass and we convert. Of course. But do I think it's the worst game Joe Lombardi has called? Not at all. I think Joe Lombardi called a decent game. It could have been a lot better, but a decent game. I don't think that's where the blame is deserved to be at this point. The defense, also unreal. We just went up against Patrick Mahomes, one of the best quarterbacks in football, a man that put up 44 points versus the Arizona Cardinals last week. He had nothing on the Chargers, at least until the momentum swing. Literally, the Chargers bottling him up. Interceptions left and right, all getting called back, but still, big plays being made. Pressure in his face. The pressure was real, and this is where the formula was starting to come together, right? Everything was coming together. What Brandon Staley wanted to do versus the Chiefs. You apply pressure, you cause mistakes, you capitalize. Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, they were doing their job. Pressure for days. The mistakes came. Patrick Mahomes is lobbing it all over the place. And the capitalization, it was there, but it was getting called back. There was one callback that I agree with. There was a PI, I think. I think Derwin James ended up coming up with the pick, and there was a pass interference on that play. Sure, call that one back. I agree with that one. We made a mistake. The other two, I don't think so at all. And those two plays could have made a huge difference in this game. Either way, that formula is working. Right? The Chargers are applying pressure, causing or forcing mistakes and capitalizing on those mistakes, and it proved to be effective versus Patrick Mahomes. And this defense is for real. They proved it. They made a statement on Thursday that this defense is real. And you know what? We're going to get another shot at Mahomes very soon. And this defense is going to continue getting better and better, even with guys that need a little time to catch up, like J.C. Jackson. Okay, that's the next thing I kind of want to talk about. J.C. Jackson. He had a bit of a disappointing debut, lackluster debut. I'm not going to, butt heads with you guys there. I think J.C. Jackson, a lot of us were super excited to see him suit up. And we saw him get beat pretty bad. He got beat by their tight end 2, I think, in that big play for a touchdown. Now, I will say that he was very, very close, millimeters away from making a big play on that ball. So close. He was in position. He just could not close the distance fast enough. I just feel like a lot of this comes up to JC's not up to speed, right? He hasn't practiced in full for a while. He's not into game speed. He didn't play any preseason. It's fine. It's excuses, sure, but at the same time, excuses can sometimes be, a tragic way of saying reasons, right? It's the reason why, in my opinion, that JC wasn't able to keep up in his very first game. And I think he'll get up to speed as time goes on. This was his first full game, right? I think he may have even played on a snap count. We'll see JC catch up here very soon. But even despite all of that, this defense is for real. The formula is working, and they're putting up and they're making big plays on defense, and that is going to continue to get better and better as we go along. It is. So ultimately, I feel very good about this team. I feel very good about where it's headed, where it's going. I feel good about... I put this picture in there too because I also want to talk a little bit about Brandon Staley and his decision making. A lot of people that were asking me about this game on Twitter were asking about, Director, why aren't we going for it on fourth down more? This team, which went for it so many times on fourth down last year, is really not doing it at all. And I'll say that, yeah, maybe there's one, maybe two instances where I feel like the Chargers should have gone for it on fourth down. Some point in midfield, you're trying to drive down, score touchdowns, not field goals on the Chiefs. I agree with that there. But the other part of me likes what he sees in number 16. And he likes this defense. I love what J.K. Scott's bringing to the special teams. You get premium airtime with that punt, or hang time, I should say, premium hang time. You're getting premium distance, and you've got a great defense that's more than proven they can contain even a Patrick Mahomes. So when you factor that in to these fourth down decisions, I actually feel pretty good every time we punt the ball because I'm equally as excited to see this defense get to work. I think trusting your defense is definitely not a bad thing to do when you got a defense like the Chargers. That being said, though, I do think there's maybe one fourth down that I would have gone for, and it could have made a difference in this game in terms of the score. But it is what it is. The last thing I kind of wanted to touch on just a little bit was Austin Ekeler. This is one thing that I will criticize the Chargers for in this game. I think Ekeler needs to become much more involved a lot sooner, right? Very quickly. Week 3, we need to see Austin Ekeler, walking all over those Jacksonville Jaguars, similar to what he did a couple years ago. I think he put up like 200 yards and a couple scores against the Jags. I need to see that in week 3. Ekeler needs to get more involved. Because as good as Justin Herbert is, Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, all these guys, I think Austin Ekeler is a big part of this offense, and he was last year. He needs to remain this year. I know we're trying to keep him healthy, use him sparingly, get those running back 2s and 3s involved, but Ekeler is ultimately one of the biggest engines of this offense, and I think it's why he works so well in tandem with Justin Herbert. Herbert's so good at finding those open guys, the big plays, utilizing the big arm, finding timing, with his feet. He's great in all aspects. But when that's not there, guess who is? Austin Ekeler. Almost always available in the flat, underneath. The guy that you can pass to very consistently and count on to get 5-10 yards. He's that big of a playmaker, and I need to see Austin Ekeler utilized a little bit more going forward. Especially now that Justin Herbert is dealing with those injuries. If Justin Herbert if he's going to be battling a rib injury for the next 3-4 weeks, even if he is on the field, we need to make Austin Ekeler available to him to get rid of the ball. Try to take as little contact as possible. So we need to see Austin Ekeler very involved here in the next couple of games. And going forward, I think Ekeler is a big part of this offense. So finally, to wrap up this video, Justin, you played a heck of a game, man. And I can't believe how many times as a Chargers fan I have sat back and had my breath taken away by what I see him do on the field, dude. This is a very special quarterback. And once again, he put on display some of the most ridiculous football moments I've ever experienced as a Charger. Crazy. And hopefully he's okay going forward. Hopefully Justin Herbert comes back and he's fine. But my bottom line in this one is that this game did get away from us, right? We're very, very close. And again, you can almost say the Chargers were victim to circumstance in several different blown calls. And the schedule, at this point, I was really hoping if the Chargers go 2-0, we were going to be looking very dangerous going forward. That's not going to be the case. But you know what is the case with this schedule? Take a look at what the Chargers are dealing with before we face Kansas City again. The Chargers, Week 3, Jacksonville, Houston, Cleveland, Denver, Seattle, Atlanta, San Francisco, a bit tougher, and then Kansas City again. You know what I see here? I see an opportunity to go on a run, dudes. I see an opportunity for momentum. I think the Chargers could stomp the Jags. I think we got a revenge game coming up for the Texans. Deshaun Watson-less Browns. If we can keep their run game in under wraps, I think we got that game. The Broncos aren't looking as good as we thought they would. Seattle doesn't have a quarterback unless Geno Smith definitely, becomes the guy everybody hopes he is. Atlanta Falcons, they got some pieces, but I don't think they're there yet. Even the Niners have been struggling to find a little bit of success. If the Chargers can win a majority of these games, they're going to grab some very nice momentum before we do rematch the Chiefs on November 20th in Week 11. And I think by that time, playing on our home turf, hopefully with better officiating, I do think the Chiefs are going to have their hands full with us because we already proved that this defense can handle them. We just need a bit of a cleaner game as a whole as a team. We also need better officiating. And I think I see an opportunity for a run here with the rest of this schedule. So my point is here, stay patient, stay diligent, Chargers fans. I know this one sucked. I know this one hurt. But you know what? In the end, let's go ahead and let the facade of this egregious victory keep Chiefs fans in false security, right? Give them that false sense of security. Because all I saw last night was the better team get robbed. We'll be back, man. The Chargers will be back. We're coming, and we're pissed. So watch out Week 11. Let's gain some momentum, come back, and prove to Patrick Mahomes that he got gifted one. He's not getting gifted another this season with the Chargers. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. This has been The Director. If you guys liked what you saw here, hit us up with a like and sub on your way out. This is a safe place to express frustration as well. Please keep it respectful in the comment section. I know not everybody's going to agree with everybody's perspective, especially with a loss like this one. We've experienced a lot of losses as Chargers fans, but these ones in particular, I do notice, make people a little bit more aggressive. Let's all be respectful here, but yes, it's also a safe place to express your frustrations, and hopefully the team can get these addressed as soon as possible. And then can I also see 10s in the chat, 10s and lightning bolts in the chat for Justin Herbert and his speedy recovery. You can also include 63s and 79s for Trey Pipkins and Corey Lindsley. All right, guys. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me. This has been The Director. We'll see you next time. And as always, bolt up, stay frosty, and get ready for the announcement. We have another sponsor coming in very soon. And it's a very exciting one I think you guys are going to really enjoy.